Forcing yourself out of your comfort zone isn't easy. I think we would like to think that it would be easier. And I think that that's how we end up staying in our comfort zones, because we want it to be easy. We want to feel good about the choices that we're making. We don't want to struggle. It's a catch-22 though. Yesterday, I went to a new venue to perform at, and I'd never been there before, and I was nervous. I was going by myself. I don't really do a whole lot by myself. Sometimes I'll go get coffee or something and sit there and just enjoy my own company, or I'll go for a quick bite, but I don't really take myself out to dinner. I want to, but the idea of going alone is kind of hard, because if I was going to eat alone, I could eat alone at home, and that would work just fine. It would be the same thing. But I think, there's power in eating alone in public that we don't even think about. Now I'm for sure going to try it at some point very soon, because now I'm curious to see what it's like. I'm curious to see how it's different, and just try something new. But yesterday, you'd think going to a new venue would be easy for me. I go to new places all the time. I, have played across the country, played, in D.C. and in Virginia. I've played in Key West, and you'd think it gets easier, but it kind of doesn't, because I didn't do it all at the same time. I didn't do it one after another. I gave myself space, and I took my time, which is fine. I'm allowed to do that. There's nothing wrong with that, except it didn't build the habit of getting used to putting myself into new situations like that. And so I struggled, and I spent all day yesterday, pretty much from the moment that I woke up, trying to convince myself not to go. But here's what was so great, and here's what I'm so proud of myself for this, because I don't know that even a month ago I would have been able to do this. But I argued with the fear part of myself, and I won. I was so well, I don't really have to go. Nobody's going with me. Maybe I should ask somebody to go. If I ask somebody to go and nobody can go, maybe I don't go. And then I didn't know that a meeting would have come up, and I thought about going to that and saying yes instead of going to the open mic, and I was torn, because I wanted to go to the open mic, but it was risky for me. It was scary. I was nervous, because it was an unfamiliar situation. I was going to a place where I didn't know anybody. I couldn't control anything. I had never been to this place before. I don't even know what it looked like. My friend just told me, hey, this is a good venue to check out. And so I was like, okay. And then I thought, maybe I'll go, but I won't perform. And then I thought to myself, well, then what's the point in going? If I go and I watch and I don't perform, that defeats the purpose. I'm not afraid of performing, so there's no excuse. If I go, I bring my guitar, we'll see what happens. And then I thought, what if I just don't bring my guitar? On the website they said that they had a house guitar. What if I just do that? And I was like, okay, I'm not going to play my own guitar. And I'm like, that's stupid, because what if I need it? I'm not going to want to leave. If I leave, I'm not coming back. So we're bringing the guitar inside. No excuses. This isn't happening. I'm not quitting on myself. That's not how this thing works. I haven't quit on myself truly in 15 years. So I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to start doing that now. And then I got there, and I was passing by all of these different parking spots. And I'm like, oh, that's a spot. Oh, that's a spot. After, as I'm driving past them, and I'm like, I should take them. And I just didn't. So I made a right turn, and I parked on a side street, but I got myself out of the car, and I made sure that it was a place where there were no signs, so that, like I said, if I left, I wasn't coming back, and I knew that. So I made sure that it wasn't something where I'd have to move my car, and then doesn't fix itself. My fear doesn't go away, but I know myself, and I know how to push through it. And so I got in, and I looked for somebody friendly. And the first question that they asked me inside the door, I didn't even understand the question. And so I was like, I'm sorry, I'm new here. This is my first time. I'm not sure what you're asking me. And they had to explain. And so then I fixed it, and I figured it out, and I just made sure to ask a lot of questions. And then I found somebody who looked really nice, and I sat by her. We got to talking, and she was really nice. And, that kind of put me a lot at ease because I got to ask her a really dumb question. But it was a question that I was confused about. And, like, I didn't want to be wrong, and I didn't know when I would go, and I was just praying that I wouldn't be first. And I wasn't. I was second. So, how's that? But you know what? I'll take it because the last time I waited to put my name in the bucket, and they pulled me last. So I went on at 11 o'clock because that was karma for me. I didn't put my name in until like 9 or like 9:30. Like I was scared. And it just, every once in a while that happens. So this time I went second. And second's not really a tough place to be, but in an unfamiliar room, it felt tough. But that wasn't like, I'll get there. Because then I'm like, so for acoustic electric guitars, if you don't play guitar, you need, it's a 9-volt battery, I believe, just to help it, it's, they call it a pickup. So when you plug it in, you have amplified sound, and you can kind of mess with the different tones, the highs, the mids, the lows. I'm probably not even using the right terminology. But anyway, so I'm trying to find a battery that's not dead because I realized that I forgot to take the battery out after my last show. Now, I'm like, how do I say this nicely? I'm like really aggressive, I guess, about making sure that I have everything that I could possibly need in my gig bag. Because I don't want to ever be in a position like this one where I need a battery and I don't have one. So I'm like panicking now at this point because the battery that's in, it works, but like the light's red, and I didn't realize that like the light being red was okay, but it was also not steadily red. So I was like, okay, this might not work. I don't know. We're gonna, we'll figure something out. So, I'm so ridiculous. So I'm like looking at my bag, and it turns out I have 4 batteries, including the one that was in my guitar. And so I'm like, thank you. And so I tried the first one, dead. And I'm like, oh Lord, because I'm second, and they're just now calling up the first person. And so I'm like, I gotta figure this out. Like, worst case, like, I hope they can just mic my guitar. Even though that's not what I want. Like, I hope they can. And they could have, and I know that now. So now I never have to panic about it again. But I didn't at the time. I thought they just were only doing the pickups for acoustic electric guitars, which is pretty common. So, especially in a smaller space. And this one, I mean, they had a great setup, but it was definitely a smaller space. So I didn't know, and I didn't really ask. And the person that I, became friends with, she didn't have an instrument, so I didn't know if she would know. So I didn't ask, and I could have, but I didn't. Anyway, so I tried the second battery, and this one works. And I'm like, oh, thank you. Like, oh, I made it. And then I get up, and, like, it was one of those experiences that, like, you're just really thankful only happens once. Like, you're never going to be new somewhere more than once. And I'm so thankful for that right now because it was just, like, not disorienting, but a little bit. And it's always like that when you play somewhere new because you're just, like, trying to get your feel for the place and find your groove. And when it's your first time, that's kind of hard. And so it took a little time for me to kind of get used to everything. And then I, like, was so in my head about it at the end. I was so grateful to be done that I, like, start walking off with my guitar plugged in. And I'm just like, I get it. Like, I know exactly where my head was at. But you know what? I'm so proud of myself, And I think that we don't acknowledge ourselves for the hard stuff that we do a lot. But, like, that was really hard for me. Because I didn't know a single person, and I made friends. And I tend to be a little bit more introverted. I actually think I'm fairly extroverted with people I know, but when I don't know somebody, I'm pretty introverted. And even just by myself, I'm introverted, so who knows what that really means. But anyway, so that really, it took me out of my comfort zone to meet new people and to, like, not go somewhere and not know anybody. But then it also took a lot for me to go somewhere where I don't know anybody for the first time and kind of share my story and play my songs. And you'd think that by now I would be used to it, but it's not so easy. You know, I mean, I wasn't scared of it, but it wasn't like comfortable. It was definitely something I had to kind of grow into and get comfortable with in the moment and find my groove. But it's all a balancing act. And I say this, I feel like I've said this every video for the last like week, but it's a balancing act. It's all about, you know, how do you find the comfort in being uncomfortable? How do you find the bliss but still be dissatisfied? You know, and when I say that, I really just mean like, how do you find the happiness while you're still like not completely satisfied with where you are yet? You know, when you're growing, when you're chasing a dream, but how do you find that happiness? And that took like a year for me to find. And so I'm really excited to begin this next part, because I know the next time I play a new place, I know it takes back now. I know what it's going to feel like, and I know how to combat it, and not like a negative way, in a very like appreciative and loving way towards myself, because that's so important. Like, that's how we get ourselves back to doing hard things, is we love on ourselves, you know? We find the little things to be grateful for and appreciative for and proud of ourselves for. We always want to do things that make us feel good. And so if you take an uncomfortable situation, you make yourself feel good afterwards, you're so much more likely to do it again than if you go back and you sit down. And even if I were to do that, if I were to go back and sit down and beat myself up for the performance that I had, it was good. It wasn't a bad performance. Was it like my standard? Probably not. But that's okay. I'm gonna play and have so many different performances and shows and play so many different venues that like it'll come later. It doesn't have to be there right at the start. You know, I have this, and I'll leave you with this thought. I have my phone background. It says, the day you plant the seed is not the same day that you eat the fruit. So that's something that I'm really starting to understand and take to heart, because it's true. You know, I'm still learning. So keep learning, because it pays off. You know, keep putting yourself in situations that force you to grow, because it can only make you better. So, have a great week.